Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed Shlita. Wishing everybody a Chodesh Tov, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, as we enter the summer season in earnest. And please continue davening for Chaylei Tzva Ganei Yisrael, for Shleim L'chol Petzuei Yisrael, and a safe return of our hostages. Leili Nishmat Seren Daniel Shimon Rav Jerome Sheli Shemakam Damo. And we begin a new chapter, new month, new chapter. It's not technically a new month. I know it's the end of the old month, but you know how Rosh Chodesh works, but I digress. So this is Perek Yud Aleph, Zman Kriya Shema Utfila Shachris. So the first section is Zman HaBoker. Amud HaShachar, shenikra gam Alos HaShachar, hu Zman HaRishon Bayom Sheish Lo Mashmaos LaHalacha. So we're going to have several terms referring to the morning time. So one of them is Amud HaShachar or Alos HaShachar, which is the rising of the morning. But we just call it Alos HaShachar. But this is the first halachic time that we have in the daytime. B'shas hadchak efshar likro kriya shema lispala ma'amud HaShachar. In a time of great need, you could even say kriya shema or say Shmona Esrei from Amud HaShachar. Avo b'matzav ragil aser, but generally speaking, this is prohibited. Nechleku acharonim mahu b'diuk Amud HaShachar. So the acharonim, they dispute what is considered Amud HaShachar. Ha'or hakalush harishon shebe mizrach. Is it the first faint light that comes from the east? This is the Magen Avraham and the Pri Megadim. Or is it a little bit later than that, when the beginning of the light starts to spread over the east? Now, we have specific and sophisticated Zemanim charts that tell us exact times, which I'll discuss in a moment. After Amud HaShachar, you have a time that's called Mishiyakir, which literally means when I could recognize. We'll see what that means. Shekvar hispashet ma'ad or ha'aretz, where the light is already spreading over the ground. Ad shiachol ha'adam l'hakir es chaver she'en arogel l'fogsho mimerchak shel abar amos. So it's called mishiyakir because it means from the word to recognize, where from a distance of 4 amos, someone that I don't usually see, I'd be able to recognize that person. In other words, there's enough light that would offer me that recognition and that ability. Va'os hazman efshar gam lahavchin bein tchelis lelavan. And in that period, there's enough light also to differentiate between the blue of Techelis and white. And from that moment and on, according to most poskim, you could already say Kriya Shema. But really, you can't say Shemona Esrei. So we usually say that, let's say, it's the earliest time for Talis and Tefillin is Mishiyakir. And just another note, practically speaking, let's say it's coming up in a couple of weeks, and then some. Fast days, daytime fast days, usually begin at Amud HaShachar, Alos HaShachar. So the fast days start earlier, but the earliest time to put on talis and tefillin is a little bit later. Hey Neitz Acham, who's Richas Hashemetz. Hey Neitz Acham, or Neitz, what we call it, is sunrise, is the rising of the sun. When you start to first see the sun coming up over the horizon, this is what we call Neitz. And that's when you can daven Shmona Esrei, ideally. V'hakore kriya shema lefnei henetz mispala miyad im henetz achama hareze mispala tfilas vasikin sheshibchu chachamim. So you've heard of davening neitz or davening vasikin. So the ideal is saying kriya shema before sunrise and exactly at sunrise saying Shmona Esrei. So anybody who davens in a neitz minyan will get to Shmona Esrei. They start different times every day almost, but the goal is to get to Shmona Esrei as sunrise occurs. So it varies. It could be very early this time of year. In the winter, it could actually be later than what you might call your regular minyan. All mitzvahs which have a daytime requirement, the obligation is to do so in the daytime, like bris milah, for instance. So they begin with neitz. Because the daytime is measured by the sun. However, if let's say you did a bris and it was already after Amud HaShachar, Alos HaShachar, you're still Yotze b'di'eved because there is still some light and the day does begin in some sense. So I just want to give you an idea. I'll use our Zemanim chart for today, Chodesh Tammuz. So it says here, it's Thursday, June 26th, the 30th day of Sivan. So Alos HaShachar, and again, there are different opinions, 16.1 degrees or 72 minutes. So we usually try to take the later Zman. So the later Zman, Alos HaShachar, took place this morning at 4:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mishiakir, also two different opinions of when that is. We'll take the later one, is 4:43 a.m. So the difference of 4:16 to 4:43. If you would say the difference between Alos and the earlier Mishiakir, it's 3 minutes. It's 4:16 to 4:19 a.m. And Nates, this morning was at 5:28 a.m. So somebody davening in a Nates minyan would have started around 5 o'clock, maybe even earlier, and they would have gotten to Shemona Esrei at exactly 5:28 a.m. It's getting a bit later now. It was as early as 5:25 last week, something like that. So that's the way it goes, and it kind of goes up and down throughout the year in the calendar, but this is how it does based on the Zemanim and the sunset, sunrise, etc. continuum. So these are just to give you an idea of these Zemanim. But they're very, very important in Halacha because they determine when we can daven, when we do certain mitzvahs. And we're going to see more of it as we go along, a little bit technical in terms of the calculations, but important nonetheless for all of our halachic requirements. So thank you so much for listening. Again, wishing everybody a good Chodesh Tov. Please continue davening for Chal Yitzvah and Yisrael Fushlam Chol Tetzua Yisrael the safe return of our hostages. Nishmat Daniel Damo. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.